So as Ashley said, I am Carrie Bates. I'm the president and CEO of the Arc Jacksonville. I have been here just about 2 years. I came from another organization that also supports people with intellectual and developmental differences, where I was at for around 7 years. And then before that, I actually came more from hospital healthcare setting. I graduated from UCF in Orlando, so kind of a proud lifelong Floridian. So a little bit about the Arc Jacksonville, and I'm going to cover kind of a variety of services that we offer with a little bit of an emphasis on the village, because that is certainly one of the programs we get the most questions about. And then I'll also end with kind of what's happened most recently here at the Arc Jacksonville. So we were founded in 1965 by families, and I always like to start with that. To this day, families are a huge part of our really strategy, visioning, long-term planning. Certainly the people we support are a part of that, but we also always really make an effort to include the families, kind of going back to our history. We serve and advocate for people with intellectual and developmental differences to achieve their full potential. So like all of you, that means something different for everyone. And so we really do try to offer a variety of programs so that whatever someone's full potential is, we can help them get there. And then a huge part of who we are is helping people participate in community life. So you'll hear me kind of mention that throughout our programs, that really being integrated into our community is really a part of our focus. And then our vision is that individuals of all abilities enrich their communities and have quality options of how they live, learn, work, and play. So we know options are important, but really making sure that we offer the best quality is a vision of ours. So I'm going to start with a video that kind of runs through a lot of our programs, and then I'll talk about a few in particular. In 1965, a group of parents formed the Arc Jacksonville with a shared vision of providing their loved ones with more opportunities to live full and independent lives. Since then, we have served and advocated for thousands of individuals and families to achieve their full potential. At the Arc Jacksonville, we believe that individuals of all abilities should have quality options for how they live, learn, work, and play in our community. Every individual deserves a beautiful, quality place to call home. In 2016, we opened the Arc Jacksonville Village, a first-of-its-kind affordable neighborhood that provides 121 residents with a safe, supportive environment to live independently. The village features a community center offering state-of-the-art amenities and daily activities. Throughout the city, we also operate 6 community homes that provide 24/7 specialized care for a total of 50 residents with a higher level of needs.
As a family member, the most important aspect about Ed living at Grove House is that I know he is taken care of. He is fed healthy meals. They make sure he gets his medications on time every day, and they keep up with all of his doctor's appointments. Because I work full-time, I just can't always take him like that. Wonderful care. I couldn't ask for better.
All members of our community should have the opportunity to earn a living and pursue employment. You can find individuals with intellectual and developmental differences working in many different industries across the city, thanks to our partnerships with local businesses. The Arc Jacksonville supports our participants by helping them prepare for employment, placing them in community jobs, and providing ongoing support and job coaching. We provide young adults with many opportunities to further their education and develop independent living and employment skills. Our on-campus transition program at the University of North Florida provides students with a true college experience as they live on campus, audit classes, and participate in UNF activities and clubs with support from mentors and staff.
My favorite part being an OCT student is being able to do the classes on campus and also doing the free events on campus, the UNF events.
One of our newest programs, Career Campus, is a partnership with Florida State College at Jacksonville and prepares students for employment by offering academic studies and practical job training in the career path of their choice. From meaningful day programs and mental health services to Friday night dance parties, the Arc Jacksonville aims to enable individuals to thrive and live their most self-sufficient, fulfilled lives. Programs like our specialized aging support, which provides services for individuals with or at risk of Alzheimer's disease-related dementia, increase quality of life and well-being for not just the participants, but also their caregivers. Each year, we provide over 2,000 families with vital information, referrals, training, and resources through our family support services. We invite you to get involved with the Arc Jacksonville and be part of creating a more inclusive Jacksonville community that embraces individuals of all abilities. Your support of our mission will allow us to empower the possible for the hundreds of families that we serve every day. Okay, so as I mentioned, a few of those programs I will go into a little more detail on, just to give you an idea of our organization. We serve around 500 people every day, really throughout our community and across several locations. It takes around 120 staff members to do this. Obviously, the staff members are truly the backbone of what we do. We, like every organization probably in America, can use more than 120 to do what we do. We're always hiring and doing what we can to train our staff to be the best, because really at the end of the day, the buildings that we build can be the most beautiful, but it's really the care that our staff provides that really is where the rubber hits the road. So that's really kind of been a huge focus in recent years, is how do we really develop our staff, invest in them, and continue to make sure they feel valued. And then in total, we have 13 programs and then seven different residential offerings. So that includes the village. And then we have 5 community homes we've had operating for a while. And then lastly, the lodge, which we just opened last month, that I'll talk about later as well. So a little bit of an overview of our total budget. We're right around 11.7 million combined. I just highlighted a few of the major sources of revenue to give you an idea. We are a Medicaid waiver service provider, and we bring in around $3.5 million through our Medicaid waiver services. Another just under 2 million in private pay. We fundraise, give or take, right around 1.8. There's some things that could or could not be considered fundraising, some different grants and funding streams that we tap. And then we have one specific employment partnership with Vistacon Johnson & Johnson that's around $1 million in revenue that employs people that I'll also go into more detail about. So a few programs we have as far as supporting education and independence. We have an entire advocacy department. It is a small but mighty department, I'll tell you, that really kind of started just based on need. And it's one of the only, I think, that functions the way it functions in our area, certainly in the state. And the fact that families just in need of really don't know where to start. Maybe they do already get some services from us. Maybe they get no services from us. But oftentimes it's a parent, someone with a child, an adult child, and they need something. Sometimes those people are in crisis. We all know those situations where someone hasn't needed services and then suddenly there's a change. And we have just a small team that really fields those calls. They know all the different rules and regulations with Social Security, Medicaid waiver, and they can really get people plugged in. So it's not so much about getting the families plugged into our services as much as getting them plugged into the supports they need for the long term. And I always say, I think most of our really great programs are born out of the advocacy department, because they're the ones getting the calls and they know the needs. So it's not just what I might think is a great idea. It's more of what families, individuals in need, the people we support are calling and saying, we need this, we're struggling with this. And mostly we all know how complicated Social Security is. We know how complicated the Medicaid waiver can be. And when families are in crisis, really being able to understand that it's hard enough for me, working in the field for several years to understand it. So I can't imagine a family trying to wrap their brain around it. So that's a great program. We also just launched Life Path, which I'll talk about a little more later. It's an attorney who came on board, and it's really a form of long-term planning for families. And we've just really evolved it in the last 2 years to become to become what we think families really need as far as they're thinking of outliving their child and making sure everything's lined up, kind of putting that together in a way. And the presentation that the staff member who's an attorney gives is what keeps you up at night. And I think as a parent, we can all relate to that. Those are the things you're thinking about and trying to address those things and get it on paper. So that's the latest thing out of advocacy. If you're in our area or in our state, I always want to be sure people leave any presentation knowing that that department exists, because it is essentially like a number you can call if you don't know where else to start. We have mental health services throughout several programs. So we offer what we call psychosocial rehabilitation, which is a form of group treatment for people who have an intellectual disability, but also have a co-occurring mental health diagnosis. And we found that this is really an effective way to help people address their mental health concerns. Certainly sometimes a talk therapy is helpful, but we feel like we've really tailored this program to help the people we support the best. And then lastly, we have 2 kind of 3-day programs. I'll share a little bit about our aging program later. We have 1-day program that is really focused on recreation, community volunteerism, community engagement. It has really nothing to do with work or employment. We have another day program that part of the day is employment and then part of the day is recreation, community engagement to kind of fill that gap, just so that people have, a full week combined with their employment. Our on-campus transition program is our partnership with the University of North Florida. It's one of the longest standing transition programs in collaboration with a university. And it's one of the coolest kind of programs I've been a part of, as far as students really have a chance to just experience college life. And we've learned through that students make all the same mistakes that every college student makes, and we put a little bit of bumpers up to help guide them, but it really lets them kind of have those life experiences that at the end of the day are kind of critical really towards really developing full independence. And students take classes, they audit classes. It's not for credit, but it's for the experience of being on a schedule, learning how to, participate appropriately with your peers. You can eat in the cafe, all of those things. So as far as work, we have a program we call Triumph Industries. That is our partnership with Johnson & Johnson, which is essentially what you see on the left. This guy's folding boxes. We fold all sorts of boxes, all sizes of boxes, thousands and thousands of boxes that go out there. Ever since 2020, a lot of people are wearing contacts, and there's a lot of different kinds of contacts. So a whole lot of box making. We have around 40 people that work in Triumph Industries. They aren't receiving any sort of services while they're there. They are earning minimum wage. And for the most part, it's people who either are still developing their job skills and do want to work out in the community, or they may be kind of in reverse, have slowed down and don't want to have a full commitment of a full-time job or a really consistent job in the community, or if they need more staff support, either medically, behaviorally, physically. This allows us to offer that and really fulfill the need that they have. We did used to have a 14C. This program used to be a 14C program. And a few years ago, we just made really a strategic decision to move away from that, just partially based on the pressures that 14C is under, and just really thinking long-term for our organization, which of course was those of you, who have 14C programs or have had them. There was downsides to making that change. We did have probably a couple dozen people that transitioned to just full-time activities because they couldn't work at a pace that would justify minimum wage. And for them, they didn't really care, but nonetheless, that was the decision that we made and the direction that we went in. But it really is a little bit unfortunate that that's kind of the way that things played out. We're still always trying to find the most meaningful activities for those individuals. But as you all know, it's very hard to fill a full week every day with new, fun, engaging things if there's not some work to structure your day around. And then we do offer supported employment throughout the community. We have around 40 people that work at a variety of places. Could be retail, banks, any number of places. That's always our kind of dream for everyone, if that is the dream for themselves, is really to at least offer people those opportunities, and then they can decide if that's the path they want to pursue. So we assist people in securing employment, doing training, and then long-term support so that if issues pop up, we can help hopefully mitigate some of those. And then we do, as I mentioned, we have 6 community homes that provide 50 residents with 24/7 supports. Our 6th one just came online last month. We started moving people in early February. So our homes, and this is all credit to my predecessor, but they're some of the most beautiful homes you can imagine. And I really think we take a lot of pride in the physical space because certainly, as I said, the staff is really where the rubber hits the road, but we all deserve really a nice place to call home. And I think making sure that people feel valued and see the value in their home is just really critical. So a little bit about the village. The village serves 121 total people. There's an aerial shot kind of down on the bottom right that really gives you an idea of what it looks like. For the most part, it really just looks like a nice neighborhood. It's in a great part of Jacksonville that really allows amazing access to the community. It's walkable to Target, several major grocery shops, lots of shopping. So if you visit there, you will see people coming and going all day long because it just really is very accessible to the community. And that's for the most part, people take advantage of that. There's some homebodies like the rest of us that just choose not to, but the location I would say is really key for the setup there. We offer, as it says, generally over 1,000 activities every year. Some on-site, a whole lot off-site. We have buses and shuttles. So if there's an art walk or a 5K or whatever there is, we try to really help people get to where they want to go. So generally, we also run a shuttle service to the nearby shopping throughout the week just to allow people as much access as possible. We do have I would say, kind of a luxury of, if you've lived here, you probably wouldn't consider it a luxury, but we have pretty good transportation for people who live in the village and throughout Jacksonville, and they're able to kind of access transportation in a variety of ways to get to work. So if you're ever there, you see people coming and going all day long, Uber-like looking type things. We are set up with 97 1- and 2-bedrooms apartments, with the majority being 1-bedroom. And we have found that the 1-bedrooms are certainly the more popular choice. So we always encourage people who are exploring these types of communities to maybe consider going heavy on the 1-bedroom. For the most part, people have plenty of opportunities to socialize and get out. So we found they just really prefer their own private space, probably like most adults. We have a few married couples that definitely like having the 2-bedroom. A few really good friends that like having the 2-bedroom, but for the most part, everyone who's in a 2-bedroom is on the wait list. I wouldn't say everyone, but a large number of people who are in a 2-bedroom are on a wait list for a 1-bedroom. And then around 75% of the people who live at the village are employed. And that can range, as most of you know, from 1 to 5 days. It really just depends. We have people who work full-time. We have people who work part-time. We have a handful of people that choose not to work and just really, want to do volunteerism and things like that. So we get them plugged in that way. So really the concept of the village came from input from people with IDD and families. Really a huge group of families that came together. And the idea was that it would be affordable and independent housing with some staff support. So there's 2 overnight staff that are available for emergencies. It is gated, but people have access 24/7 to come in and out. It's more just gated for security so that only people who are supposed to be there, just like any gated neighborhood, are there. And really, we promote community inclusion without any restrictions. So it's just like any other apartment. There's no restriction on who you can have over to your apartment. We really wouldn't even know. So it's just a very, I think, kind of typical apartment, but really gives people a chance to socialize. And I think we've all followed kind of the statistics and data coming out since COVID started. And it's pretty staggering when you hear about isolation and the impact that isolation has on us. I just saw in the news last week, I think, that people who live alone are 30% more likely to get cancer. And I think we really saw that the need for people to have really easy access to social engagement. I think that's what the village offers, whether it be with their friends that live at the village or down the street, it doesn't matter. But really, the setup allows us to encourage and support people in engaging in more socialization. We offer supported living coaching through private pay. So we are, as I mentioned in the beginning, we're a Medicaid waiver provider, but we don't provide any Medicaid services at the village. So there are about half the residents have the Medicaid waiver and they use other providers who come in and provide services to them. The other half that don't have Medicaid waiver, they're either on the wait list or aren't pursuing Medicaid waiver for whatever reason, or maybe don't qualify for some reason, but really do still fit the village. We do offer supported living coaching for private pay, and I'll get into the rates in a few slides. We offer employment support for people who live there and want to take advantage of that. And then we have something we call auxiliary services. All of the auxiliary services are included if someone is paying private pay, and then it's an option for people on the waiver. So if they want to access the activities, like I mentioned, we take people to art walks, 5Ks. We have the shuttle that runs to nearby shopping. That's an option for people who have Medicaid waiver just to purchase that part. So it's not required, but it's an option that almost everyone does take advantage of. And then we do have 24/7 on-site staff assistance. So we have, during the day, there's all sorts of staff there that can help with emergencies. And then overnight, we have 2 staff that take turns taking call. And so every apartment has a emergency button. So if someone has an emergency, they can contact it. And I would say more times than not, those emergencies, they can actually be related to mental health issues or even some social isolation type stuff, but that's what the staff is there for, and they're able to respond pretty quickly. And then we have a chef who does offer an evening meal option for, depending on if you buy a package or not, $7 to $8 a meal. So that's just an option. The apartments are typical apartments with full kitchens, and we have probably about 1/3 of the residents take advantage of the evening meal option. It's just a convenience for those that work and come in, and I don't want to cook every night. So I'm sure not everyone there wants to cook every night. So a little bit about the cost. We are extremely affordable, as you'll see. Generally, people are shocked by the affordability. The rent is based on income and then depends on if you're in a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom, but this would be per person rent. So depending on the income, your rent could be as low as $383 or the max is $835. And most people fall in the $500 to $600 range based on their income. And then, as I mentioned, you can get services through Medicaid waiver, which would be kind of on your own through another provider, or you can pay privately. And privately, depending on when you move in and the level of support you want, range from $630 to just over $1,200 a month. And then the auxiliary services, which I mentioned are optional for med waiver participants, are $315 a month. And that includes all the activities, on-site, off-site, shuttle, staff, crisis management, those kind of things. And then our a la carte dinner is $8. We do tell families, to plan on if they're looking at their monthly budget and affordability. And the bottom I put, these aren't things we charge by any means, but these are things we tell people they should kind of figure into their total budget as far as their food budget, personal spending budget, and transportation. So a few quick facts. We are 100% occupied. We generally have a little bit of turnover. Like right now, we have a little bit of turnover we actually had someone who moved into our newest community home, the Lodge. So that opens up a 1-bedroom, but then someone in the 2 bedrooms on a wait list for a 1-bedroom. So it begins this massive shuffle. But as I mentioned, 2/3 of the units are 1-bedrooms. Those are almost always full with a pretty long wait list. The 2 bedrooms are full and there is a wait list, but it's not nearly as long. And most people come into the 2-bedroom and still want to be on the wait list for the 1-bedroom. And then it's about half and half between people who are using Medicaid waiver and people who are private pay. Like most states, we have a long wait list, or now we don't call it a wait list, we call it a pre-enrollment list for Medicaid waiver. So some of those individuals kind of fall into the private pay bucket. But the nice thing is the affordability does allow them to really still, move out of parents' house, kind of start living their life. And then lastly, I mentioned, it's like any other apartment. If you walk into it, it feels like I don't know, like an apartment that I've lived in. It has pool, hot tub, game room, movie theater. There's people in and out all day taking advantage of the amenities. It really does get more exciting as the day goes on when I'm working over there. Just to see people coming in from work and starting to gather is always just really fun to see the community that exists. The village is also, it was a lease we have. It was a total of 50 acres that we leased, like a 99-year lease with the state. The village sits on a total of 17 acres, and then we just built the lodge. So we have a little bit of acreage left in that lease that really probably is, best suited for housing or something like that. But the property itself kind of sat vacant for a really long time, and it's restricted to only IDD. The original owners gifted it to the state with that stipulation. So that's kind of how we landed there. It is a public-private, not-for-profit partnership in that it was a tax credit project. Then we got several government grants. We did a capital campaign, really a combination. And it is meant to be long-term affordable housing. So while the program itself is supporting people who may want to eventually move in an apartment down the street. That's not necessarily the end game for everyone. It's really up to them if that's their goal. But they can live in the village really as long as they can live independently. And then as far as eligibility, there is income eligibility. It's based on the individual's income, not on the family's income. And then there's background screening, and you have to be 18 years or older. So I just wanted to share one quick story. These are actually two of our newer residents, Grace and Josh. They're brother and sister. And they're the first brother and sister that we ever had at the village. And we were able to get 2 openings kind of lined up so that they could both move in. Neither Grace nor Josh had ever lived on their own. And their mom was really concerned about how that would go. Josh moved in first. He really jumped right in. He immediately started working at Publix and really got involved in activities. And then Grace took a little longer. She was really close with her mom, but she's really adjusted. I see her now when I'm out at any activity. She's almost always there. And they're really just thriving. And it's just been so great to see them kind of go from, living at home to really kind of gaining their independence and continuing to gain their independent living skills. So just a quote from Grace is on the bottom. She really is into helping new residents because she went through so much anxiety. And so we're really trying to kind of tap that, like almost like mentorship idea with people who move in right now is like a big thought we're having. And then Emily is Grace and Josh's mom, and she's just so thrilled because, as she says, their dream of moving out has been realized, and just the transition, it's not always easy. And really, to Grace and Josh's credit, like they have just handled it with great ease. So we're so happy they're with us. So a little bit looking ahead, we are about halfway through a strategic planning cycle. And so I'm going to feature just a few things that have kind of been born out of strategic planning and visioning. One thing we are most excited about is the lodge. This is our latest community home. It's the first in the state, one of the few that we know about that really focuses on people with intellectual differences and a co-occurring mental illness. So there are 6 residents, but they're receiving the support from the direct support professional staff that's in the home, layered in with the mental health professional staff to really help people overcome whatever it is that may be keeping them from reaching their full potential. So they're, again, not on any sort of time limited. This is considered permanent housing, but certainly if we can grow the person's skills and give them the support they need on the mental health side to let them, maybe move to the next level of independence, that would certainly be really a dream come true for some of these people. And this kind of came out, I mentioned our advocacy department. This idea came about organically also. We were noticing people that were living independently, whether it be out in the community or even in the village, were oftentimes struggling. It wasn't their IDD that they were struggling with. It was more mental health related, and that, looks like anxiety and depression and things that we all struggle with that then when you live alone become increasingly complex. So that was the thought, is that this particular home will help people kind of cope with their mental health diagnosis. And the coolest thing that I love about the home is the layout, which I have just some pictures because we're really excited about it because it just opened. So there's a lot of common space, and then I'll kind of walk you through someone's apartment. So this is the common space. All 6 residents share this. There's a sitting room in the front and a sitting room in the back. And then this is the kitchen. We provide all the meals every day for residents. They're of course welcome to eat out or do whatever they want to do, but we do provide them should they choose to eat at home. And they help, part of their mental health treatment, part of the community home programming is teaching people to learn to cook and be part of that process. This is the other sitting room and the dining room for everyone that they share. And then this is kind of the inside of which each of the 6 apartments look like. So each apartment has its own kitchenette, and then a little sitting table, and then like a really small little living room kind of TV room area, and then their own bathroom. I was trying to see, it didn't shoot back. The bathroom's right off the bedroom. But so every resident has their own bathroom, own kitchenette, own dining room. So a lot of privacy. The doors really feel like apartment doors. So they have peepholes. So really it allows us to give people the support they need with staff there, but the dignity of having their own space. And some of the people who live in the home are super independent and, come and go all day long. Some are learning more skills. And so it's kind of a mix of where everyone's at, but they are all trying to work on their independent living skills and also work on their mental health diagnosis. And the second of the 3 new programs that I wanted to mention is our specialized aging support. And again, this came about from just seeing what was happening and families calling and saying we need help. And it's a program that's specifically to support people who have or are living with Alzheimer's disease or related dementia. So it operates day to day. There's a day program where people are coming and there's a curriculum people are following. So if they already have a diagnosis or at high risk, the curriculum's tailored to really help minimize the symptoms or delay onset of new symptoms. And also for people at high risk, there's screening that's going on periodically so that we can help the support staff and teams and families really monitor any changes and really get ahead of that. And then the second part of that is really working with each individual's caregivers. So that can be parents, families, staff in a group home, staff in an assisted living. It could be anything to really help them learn how to manage symptoms better so that people can continue to live as independently as long as they can, even with the onset of dementia. And we know this is a huge need, especially for our individuals who have Down syndrome. If an individual with Down syndrome lives to be 60, they have a 90% chance of developing dementia. So that's a pretty staggering number when you think about it. And we really wanted to be well prepared for that, to support people wherever they're living, to really continue to live the most meaningful life they can live, and also help families cope with that. And then there's other things we're adding on. We're doing caregiver support, in-home assessments just for safety, elopement risk, things like that. So a variety of supports. And then lastly is our partnership with FSCJ. So this is a program specifically designed for students who have finished their traditional school, but they might want to pursue a credential of some sort. So right now we're actually finalizing the 3 tracks. These students just finished their first year, which was a career readiness certificate through FSCJ through their adult education side. And the 3 tracks are going to be culinary, office assistant, and then a program that's called PAWS, that's actually a pet assistant type training. We have a lot of interest in people who want to work with pets. So we're going to try and train people to be able to, it could be anything from working at a doggy daycare to a dog walker to assisting at a vet, that kind of thing. So we're kind of ironing that out right now. And a really cool part of this program is the build a business. So each year, each class creates their own business. So this class created this t-shirt, which is 100% human being. So they had to go through, they did almost like a Shark Tank like model at the beginning and had to really go through A to Z. What do they need to start the business? How do they work as a team? So just a really cool project. And they're now selling the shirts as their kind of spin-off business and figuring out how to sell more and connect with people. So that is the end of my formal presentation.